Hi everyone. In this presentation, we will be talking about the intensity of physical activity and why MVPA or moderate to vigorous physical activity is important. I am a little bit sick, so I would like you to excuse me if I sound funny. I was waiting for the right moment to do the video recording, and apparently that moment is not in the near future. So, please excuse me. First of all, we have that moderate intensity activities are activities that will make you breathe faster and deeper and will make your heartbeat go fast, like walking quickly, dancing, skating, or skateboarding. We also have that vigorous activities will make your breathing and your heartbeat go so fast that you will not be able to perform the activity and talk at the same time. Those activities are running, soccer, and basketball. And these are very simple examples and a very simple way to explain these concepts to our kids and to our students. But if we want a more specific way to quantify how hard is that physical activity, we have other methods like the metabolic equivalence. This metabolic equivalence represents a procedure for expressing energy cost of physical activity as multiples of the resting metabolic rate, or the amount of energy or calories that you burn while you are seated or resting. One MET is defined as the energy cost of sitting quietly and is equivalent to a caloric consumption of 1 calorie per kilogram per hour. It is also defined as the oxygen uptake while sitting quietly in milliliters of oxygen per kilogram per minute. 1 MET represents 3.5 milliliters of oxygen per kilogram per minute, and that's the amount of oxygen in average that a person consumes while it's seated or it's in a resting position. Since we have that base unit, now we can classify different activities as how much harder or how much they burn, how much oxygen they consume, comparing it to the base unit. We have that light intensity activities go from 0 to less than 3 METs. So that means that these activities will burn less than 3 times the calories that resting activities burn, or less than 3 times the oxygen that is consumed from resting activities. Moderate intensity activities go from 3 to 6 METs. We can also say that these activities burn or consume 3 to times more oxygen or more calories or more energy, comparing it to the resting or sitting quietly. And finally, we have vigorous intensity activities that go for more than 6 METs. I've embedded here the link of the Compendium of Physical Activity, an update of activity codes and MET intensities. The Compendium of Physical Activity was developed in 1989 and finally published in 1993, and it was created to facilitate the coding of physical activities obtained from physical activity records, logs, and surveys, questionnaires, and also to promote comparison of coded physical activity intensity levels across observational studies. It was a way to standardize the intensity that was assigned to each physical activity. We have another way to classify how intense is that activity, and is through the perceived exertion. We have here a modified version of the Borg scale. The original version goes from 6 to 20, and this modified version goes from 1 to 10. The perceived scale, the RPE, rate of perceived exertion, is correlated with heart rate. So as the intensity goes up, we know that the heart rate goes up, and the numbers also goes up. The numbers go up. We have here this chart that is very helpful using it with children, because it has colors and children can identify the color with what they feel. Like light blue is a very light activity that usually go from 0 to 1. Then it goes green, and that represents moderate activities from 4 to 5, or maybe 5 to 6. And then we have orange and red for the max effort. That's number 10. So what activities really count as moderate to vigorous physical activities? If our children or our students ask us, what are we going to recommend, or they should know if they're doing X activity, how much intense is that activity? So we have this table that can help us with that. You have the age group, children and adolescent, and you have the type of physical activity, moderate and vigorous. And for example, a children that is walking to school, it's performing a moderate intensity activity. Or an adolescent that is doing cheerleading or gymnastics or jumping rope, well, it's doing vigorous intensity activity. And why? Why is intensity important, and why we need to do moderate to vigorous physical activity? It's not because we say so, exercise physiology says so, or the physical education teacher says so. We have landmark studies, longitudinal studies that made great contributions in establishing the relationship between the benefits physical activity and establishing the dose, the amount of physical activity and the intensity that we need to do in order to produce these benefits that we have here. Some of those studies are the Harvard Alumni Study, the London Bus Driver Study, or the Nurse Health Study. For the benefits, we have improved cardiorespiratory and muscular fitness, improved bone health, favorable body composition, reduced symptoms of depression, decreased likelihood of developing heart disease, decreased likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes, and improved concentration, memory, and classroom behavior. We're not going to talk a lot more about the benefits or the methods of monitoring physical activity because those are the next topics within this module. For now, this is it. I encourage you to watch the video that you have embedded in the website, why it is important, why intensity is important. It is a storytelling that explains why intensity is important in a very funny way. And it will also serve as an example for your final activity for this topic that in which you will have to create and design a storytelling about physical activity. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for listening.